Hello, beautiful people. Today is 28th of May. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today in GS Folder, we will take an essay topic from UPSC Mains Examination 2015. That is, lending hand to someone is better than giving a dole. Now, this particular quote means that it is always desirable to bring the capability into certain individual in order to ensure a sustainable living for that particular person. Now, often we tend to give a dole that is giving some momentary relief, and in that way, the long term relief is ignored. Now, as a state, this particular statement means that state should involve into more capital expenditures with which the long term plight of different people could be meted out. For example, when we talk about farmers, states tend to go for the farm loan waivers, which is a strategy of giving a dole. Rather than it, the strategies such as building the infrastructure of irrigation, giving them better aids, giving them better skill is the need of hour, because that is like giving a hand. Now, on to the individual level, we often tend to shrug off our responsibility towards the society. We give 5 rupees to a beggar, we give a blanket to a beggar into the winters, but we rarely volunteer to give education to these people. We rarely volunteer to give some skill to these people so that they can live a better life. So, on individual level, also, many a times we are following the strategy of giving a dole. So, guys, the repercussions can be immense, and this particular line could be substantiated by giving large number of examples from your day-to-day life as well as from the life of great personalities. Now, if possible and if you have time, then please try to write a short essay on this particular thing also. And now, guys, let's begin with today's newspaper analysis. This is the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper, and the first news that we can see here is that now Donald Trump had offered to mediate between India and China onto the matter of LAC standoff. Now, into earlier videos, we had seen that how standoff had occurred into the Ladakh as well as Sikkim, and the issue is further flaring up. We had also seen yesterday that the Prime Minister held a meet with the CDS, NSA, and chief from the three services to have an overview as what is going on onto the LAC sector. Now, these are the locations where the interception has been occurred. We had seen them. They are the Pangongso Lake. We had seen that there is a Green Finger Top Hill there. Then there is Damchok Valley. Then there is Galwan Valley. And then there is Nakula Pass, which is in Sikkim. So here the major interventions between the two troops have occurred, and the matter is now going to the higher diplomatic channels. So into this particular background, now the Donald Trump is offering its mediation for the amicable resolving of the disputes. However, meanwhile, Chinese Foreign Affairs Ministry has also said that through amicably and through bilateral channels, both India and China independently can solve their relations. So now finally a kind of respite is being seen into the relation, which is very much necessary given the pandemic which right now India as well as China both are facing. In detail, we had discussed this entire issue. You can refer to the previous videos, and now we'll go to the next news item. Now here, government has decided to remove the upper 4500 rupees limit onto the RT-PCR test or to the COVID test. Now, as per testing mechanism, the tests are being conducted at the public hospitals where they were free and into the private labs. Now, private labs need to be certified either by the ICMR or by the NABL, that is National Accreditation Board for Testing and Calibration Laboratories. Now, just for your exam, remember that it is under QCI, that is Quality Council of India. Now, into the private labs, the tests are capped at 4500 rupees. Now, this price limit was relatively high given the lower income standards of even the middle income class groups, and there have been demands that this particular thing should be removed. But into the initial days, India did not had enough of RT-PCR kits. They were to be imported and were costly. So therefore, the a relatively higher threshold was kept, but now the supply of kits have been stabilized and there is also the local procurement. So now the central government has decided to remove this limit, and now the state governments are free to negotiate with the private labs and can keep a test which can be lower than 4500 also. Now, apart from this particular development, one more thing has been mentioned into the article. Ministry of Health Affairs had made very clear that essential services should continue even during the lockdown. Now, what essential services are being referred to? Now, guys, there is RMNCAH plus N program, which is run by the Ministry of Health under the National Health Mission. Now, it stands for reproductive, maternal, newborn, child, adolescent health, and finally the nutrition. Now, all these things are to be done because India had pledged the Sustainable Development Goals, and SDG number 3 talks about the health. And there, the health of mothers, newborn, adolescent, child have been clearly mentioned. Therefore, RMNCAH plus N program is being started. But as COVID started, the immunization, nutrition, and health related services were not being able to be provided to these people. So, therefore, now the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare had started that all the hospital facilities need to provide these particular facilities irrespective of the COVID 19 status. Now, earlier, in order to avail this particular facility, COVID 19 test was mandatory. And on the basis of report, the services were given into the COVID dedicated hospital or non COVID dedicated hospital. Now, the MEC test is not mandatory. Moreover, guidelines have also been issued for the hospitals which were earlier either into the containment zone or now going into the containment zone, which have came out of containment zone. They can start all the facilities after the 14 days. However, the hospitals which have came into the containment zone, they need to follow a strict protocol. So that's all, and now we'll move to next. Now here's a news item on page number 5 where the governor of Maharashtra had modified the Forest Rights Act. Now, before understanding this particular article, we need to see certain background first. First of all, there is article number 244 under the part 10 of Indian Constitution, and it provides that the scheduled areas and tribal areas should be governed differently from the mainland India because of their different culture, heritage, and structures. So, guys, in this particular respect, schedule number 5 and schedule number 6 makes detailed provisions with respect to the tribal areas and scheduled areas. Now, guys, the difference between schedule 5 and 6 is this: schedule 5 will be applicable to all the parts into the country except four states, that is Meghalaya, Assam, Tripura, and Mizoram. And then the sixth schedule, it deals only with the Meghalaya, Assam, Tripura, and Mizoram. So, guys, now we are talking about the state of Maharashtra. So tell me where Maharashtra will be dealt. Yes, it will be dealt under schedule number 5. Now, on the other hand, we have Forest Right Act of 2006. Now, this particular act gives the certain rights to the scheduled tribes as well as forest dwellers in respect of their land, minor forest produce, and other community assets. Now, guys, individual rights are given as well as community rights are given, that is to entire community. Now, friends, under schedule number 5, the governor has the power that it can direct that any parliamentary law either will not be applicable to the scheduled area or will be applicable into the modification. So he can modify any parliamentary law. Now, guys, FRA is a law which has been made by parliament. Now, as governor has the power under the schedule number 5 to amend any parliamentary law, governor by using that particular power has amended the section number 6 of FRA. Now let's see what will happen by this. Now, friends, whenever a scheduled tribal applies for a land title, which is also called as patta. By the way, what is patta has already been asked into the UPSC, so it is nothing but a land title. So whenever he applies for a land title, then there are three levels. First of all, there is Gram Sabha, then there is a sub district level committee, and finally there is the district level committee. When the right of his patta is approved at all the three levels, only then he will get the right to the land. Now, guys, if the title is rejected by the DLC, then there is no further mechanism. Now, what has been done? By the recent amendment, one more provision has been provided, that is divisional level committee, which will be headed by the divisional commissioners. Now, once the claim has been rejected by the DLC, then the further appeal can be made here and they will hear to the cases. So earlier, the decision of the district level committee was final and no appeal was there. So now what has been done? A further venue for the appeal has been provided. Now, guys, this new change will be applicable to the areas under the PISA Act of 1996. Now, PISA stands for the Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas. Now, originally, when the Panchayat provisions came, they were not applicable to the scheduled areas, but later they were made applicable by the PISA Act. So now there are scheduled areas, and over them, the Panchayat have also been extended by the PISA. So wherever the PISA is applicable in Maharashtra, there the new changes will also be applicable. So guys, this particular development has seen the mixed responses from the activist. Some feel that it is good because justice will be given. Some says that it is bad because many a times the disputants will further approach the divisional level committee and it will delay the land titles to the rightful owners. So guys, this is the entire scenario, and now we'll move to the next. Now, friends, we are into the editorial section, and there are two issues, that is of the locust and Hong Kong, which have gained the importance and they are directly relevant for our exams also. Therefore, I believe that the coverage should not be limited to the present crisis. Rather, we should look into them much more comprehensively with point of our exam. So, I will be coming with a separate video on both the issues and in depth with the way forward I will be discussing it. You please tell me into the comments that should we take such burning issues into the multivectors approach or not. Now, in this particular editorial, certain policy suggestions for dealing with the migrant crisis has been given. Now, first of all, the migrant crisis has turned into a humanitarian crisis and no adequate policy actions have been taken. Now, first of all, before going into the policy actions, we need to find out the reason that why such kind of actions are missing. And the most important reason in this particular direction is that simply government is not having adequate data with respect to the actual number of migrants which are there into the country, and therefore policy formulation happens to be missing. Now, there have been various estimates with respect to the number of migrants, and these numbers go from 300 million to 450 million. The 450 million number of migrant workers data has been given by the census of 2011. And as of now, as already nearly 10 years have been passed, this particular digit will be even more. But exactly how much? Simply, there is no data on this particular regard. But even if a static data of 450 million or 300 million even is considered, then the resources with the state government are simply not adequate to deal the pandemic of such nature. Now, guys, whenever a kind of a catastrophe develops in India, a suggestion is given that the military should be roped in to provide the response. And it has even been done into the past. For example, into the flood management or into the flood crisis, army is called, into the tsunami response it is called, and various other disasters also military is robbed. Therefore, right now also it is being said that military having the large reserves or of PPE suits and their professionalism can effectively deal with the crisis. But it is oversimplification of the situation. And we are forgetting that arsenal of military in the form of PPEs is meant to be used during the time of any biological attack. Moreover, right now the standoff between India and China is very much evident, and Indian army needs to be deployed at these strategic points for the sake of national security. Moreover, though military can do the task of the first respondents, but nobody other can do the task of military onto the border. So therefore, knee jerk reactions such as calling military onto the first instance should not be done. We need to understand that military is not the respondents of the first resort, rather they are the respondents of the last resort. Now, apart from strategic reason, there is one more reason. Though professionally military is much more equipped, but in dealing with the socio-economic crisis, the experience is not there into the military forces. And when given the charge of a civilian population, many a time some controversial things have also been happened. For example, the unpopular AFSPA Act, where the atrocities by military have been alleged. Though nothing conclusive has been found in this particular respect and verdict is not out, but still the charges are being floated. Now, moving forward, what could be the policy suggestions? So, guys, first of all, there should be three areas of the policy. Number one is the ideology. And in terms of it, we need to focus onto the ideologies propagated by Mahatma Gandhi, such as his ideas of Gram Swaraj and Village Republic. Now, these type of ideologies are required in place of Niti Ayog's New India, because even today the large chunk of India is still living into the villages where Gandhi's ideologies will be more ripe. And then there are certain things which are to be changed at the host place, that is the place where the migrant are going, and at the parent place or the place from where the migrants are originating. Now, first, talking about the strategy at the parent place. The rural economy is needed to be built in such a way that near the home the people can get the work, and if there is a crisis, then in no time they can go back to their homes. In this particular direction, cottage based industries should be established into the rural areas, and these cottage industries can also provide the raw material or the semi finished goods to the manufacturing industries into the big cities or towns. Now, by following this kind of a strategy, first of all, the number of migrants into the urban areas and the problem of urbanization can be controlled, the village incomes can be supplemented, and the distress into the rural areas will be reduced. Now, guys, apart from building the cottage industry, we also need to equip the artisans to manufacture the indigenous goods more effectively and efficiently, as they have huge market overseas as well as in India. Then, on to the policy front, there needs to be a migration policy into the every state, so that collective action in the case of migration could be taken. After that, coming to the host region, there are also certain policy changes which are needed to be made. First of all, enabling legislation such as Interstate Migrant Worker Act should be made much more enhanced, and better protection should be given to the migrants. Then, secondly, as these migrants land into the city, they start living into the slums, and often basic necessities of life are not there. So, in place of slum beautification, slum developmental activities are needed to be taken by the government. Thirdly, the basic necessities of life should be provided to them as a matter of right. Therefore, in this direction, commodities such as food should be provided irrespective of the place where they are going. So, therefore, here the program such as One Nation, One Ration Card can come very handy. So, all these things are needed to be done. So, guys, this was all, and now we'll move to the next. This particular editorial talks about restoring the supply chain in order to put the economy back on track. Now, if we talk about little bit of things that are going behind the curtains, then there are two school of thought. One are saying that the economy is subdued because there is no demand. Other are saying that the economy is subdued because there is no supply. Believers of demand says that until people will not be having the money, they will simply not demand the goods, and then the economy will not be able to function. However, the other says that if supply will not be there, even if you put the money into the hand of people, they are willing to spend, but they will not be able to get if the supply is not there. Now, both are correct in what they say, but they are wrong in what they deny. If I tell you honest opinion, neither the demand only will be help nor the supply only will help. Both demand and supply, if restored, then the respite can be achieved. However, this particular article is talking about the supply. Now, giving you one additional point, the restoration of supply chain is also in line with the Amartya Sen's idea of managing a famine. Now, guys, Amartya Sen says that the food shortage and famine not happens because the food is not there, but rather it happens because the food is not able to reach to the customers. Though food is there, but it doesn't reaches. Therefore, in 1943 also, people into the interiors of Bengal died simply because the supply chains were broken. So, this particular article can also be substituted with Amartya Sen's idea. Now, coming to the editorial, it is being said that the fiscal package that has been announced by government under the name of Atmanirbharta Abhiyan will not be helping because the ideology is wrong here. Now, it is suggested that an economy works onto the integration of various supply chains with each other. For example, in an economy, just to make a packet of biscuit, various supply chains came in play. First of all, there is a person who is selling the seed. Now, seeds will go to the farmer. Farmer will use those seeds and will make the wheat. Then, wheat will be sold into an APMC mandi. And then that trader will sell the wheat to the person who will make the flour. And after the flour will go to the person who is a baker, and then he will bake and the biscuits will be made. So many supply chains are dependent here, and if any one link is broken, then you will not be able to get the biscuit. So supply chain is very much important. However, the burnt of the supply chain will be felt when the stocks will start to get exhausted. For example, right now the spare parts of trucks might not be looking that much of essential goods, but once the spare parts will be exhausted and the trucks will start to break down and the goods will not be reaching the market, the heat will be felt more. And then the things will get even more complicated due to the shortage of the labor, because even though the roads will be open, but who will make the goods when the labor will not be there? And now, into this background, certain fundamental changes will come in an economy, and the change number one will be such that the firms will relocate to the new suppliers. They will prefer the supplier who are into their geographical vicinity, so that the disruptions could be minimized into the times to come. But right now, the suppliers of similar commodities right now are situated in clusters or conglomerates in some specific situations. So, in times to come, they will be evenly scattered throughout the countries in order to meet their next link into the chain. And building such new plants will require massive investment, and that investment needs to come from the savings. However, right now, savings are also very much less. Now, further, the article provides that the present fiscal package which has been given, how it will not work, because into the fiscal package, the money has been given into the hands of bureaucrats who will further spend that money for the welfare of the people. But it has been seen that by very nature, bureaucrats are inherently ineffective when compared with the profit driven private enterprises. Bureaucrats have very less incentive to bring the radical changes into the supply chain. So therefore, the stimulus package, if it has been directed towards the suppliers, then the much needed reforms could have been brought. In this particular direction, we can learn from the example of West Germany, which was devastated after the World War II. Now, in this particular background, the government provided the package to the private firms, not to the government. How the package will be provided? In two ways. First of all, price controls were lifted, so therefore the profit will now become a motivating factor. And secondly, the tax cuts were given. Now it was the case of a free economy, and here the industrialists, by their own initiative, perfected the supply chain, and by 1950, within span of 5 years, the per capita income of West Germany came to the pre-war level. So friends, this is an alternative strategy as how on working the supply chains the economic recovery could be achieved. So this was all here, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here's a news onto the page number 9, where an invasive mussel is spreading into the Kerala's backwater. Now, invasive species is one which comes to a habitat takes up the food and resources of that habitat, and in this particular way it poses the danger to the native species of that particular region. For example, if a new species will come to a pond, then it will be taking up the oxygen, will be taking up the nutrients, so the existing fishes will start to die and they will starve. And now into the Kerala, a new variety of mussel has came and it is invading the ecosystem. Now, mussel is a name which is given to large number of species or creatures which have a mollusk-like structure. So you might have seen the oysters. So oysters also belong to the family of mollusks. And now the mollusks which have invaded the Kerala's backwater are called as charu mussels, and they have originated into the waters of South America and Central America. Now a question comes that which region is being worst impacted? Then guys, the worst impacted region are the backwaters of Kerala, among which the most important is the Ashtamudi Lake, because Ashtamudi Lake has also been given the status of the Ramsar site. Although lot of names have been given here, but you don't need to remember all, just keep in your mind Ashtamudi. Now, as they take the resources of the native species, then which species are under danger? So it has eliminated the Asian green mussel, which is an edible oyster for the people of Kerala, and it has also eliminating the short neck clam, which is a variety of fish. And guys, this short neck clam has also been given the eco label by the Marine Stewardship Council. So organization is not that important. Eco label is a tag which is given to any species which is very much important for the people of that particular region. Now, large number of fishermen depend onto the short clam, so therefore eco label was given. Now a question comes that why their population is increasing into the region. So now guys, there are two things. First of all, how these species came from Central America to the India, and the answer for this particular thing is through the ballast water. Now, friends, when the ship starts to sail, there is a chamber into the ship which is filled with water in order to help it balance into the seas. Now, this particular water is called as ballast water, and this water is taken from the region where the journey is going to begin. So there could be a possibility when the ballast water is taken into the Central America or South America, these mussels enter here, and when the water is released upon reaching the destination, that is into the Indian Ocean, when the water is released, they come out and now they are thriving into the Indian Ocean. Moreover, there could be one more possibility that they cling to the hull of the ship and they get detached themselves into the Indian Ocean. So in this particular way they are coming here. However, their population was limited to the ocean, but their inward invasion has been facilitated by the cyclone Oki, which came in 2017, and incidentally from 2018 and 19 their population is increasing into the region. So friends, please remember these issues with respect to your ecology. Now we'll move to the next. Now, guys, here's a news on international page where the European Union have unveiled a recovery plan worth 750 billion pounds. Now, guys, when we see the European affairs, then there was an issue going on. First of all, the Europe is divided in two parts, into the north and into the south. Now, the southern blocks have the countries such as Italy and Spain, which are the worst impacted by the coronavirus. However, into the north, the countries such as Sweden, Denmark, etc., are relatively insulated from the virus. Now, moreover, at the same time, there is one more thing that the North European countries, they are economically well, whereas the southern European countries are not that much economically well when compared with to the north. Moreover, the debt crisis is going on where the South European countries have taken huge debts from the European Union as well as from the individual nations. And now, due to the weak structure of economy into these countries, they are not able to pay back the debt. But as the coronavirus came and these countries into the south are worst impacted, they want to take more money. However, they have not paid the earlier dues also. So therefore, a kind of an appeal was made that European Union collectively should raise some money, and money should be given all to all the members of European Union on to the basis of their need. Now the problem comes into this particular respect, that is the problem of frugal 4. Now guys, frugal 4 refers to the fourth north European countries, which are Austria, Denmark, Netherlands and Sweden. Now, sometimes Germany is also clubbed with these frugal four, but Germany is a little bit more flexible. So, traditionally, they are the four into frugal four. Now, these countries are very much against taking any type of loan, and they say that a collective loan should not be taken, and the country who has the need, they should take loan on their own. So, they don't want the collective liabilities. Therefore, the attempts to raise a collective loan were being denied by the North. But in this particular background, still the European Union has now decided that a 750 billion economy rescue plan will be unveiled. And here, the European Commission will borrow the money from the market, and then such money will be given to the member countries as the grant as well as onto the basis of loan. Now, guys, two-thirds of the money will be given as grant, whereas the remaining money will be given as a loan. And in this particular way, the countries such as Italy and Spain will be getting the most benefit. Now the proposal though has been raised by European Union, but still there is a fear that the frugal four can register their protest and it could be blocked by them. Now friends, if I tell you the contention, then the frugal four wanted that the all money should be given as the loan, whereas Germany is little bit more flexible. So Germany has welcomed that some part is coming as grant and some part is coming as loan. Now along with Germany, France has also welcomed such decision, and into the time to come, the all 27 members of the European Union as well as the European Parliament has to approve this particular plan. Then we'll see that exactly if it will come or not. Now, friends, here's a news on the business page where the loan to MSME sector has been given a risk-free tag. Now, we'll understand this particular thing. Now, friends, recently the government announced the Atmanirbharta Abhiyan, and under this Abhiyan, 3 lakh crore rupees were to be given to the MSME sector so that their working capital requirements can be fulfilled and they can come back into the business. Now, the process is very simple. There are the banks, then there are the MSMEs. MSMEs will approach the bank to take the loan. Bank will give the loan, but banks will not require any guarantee because at the back there is a government who has said that we are giving the guarantee. If any loan will default, you come to us and we will be giving that particular thing. Now, guys, directly the Prime Minister will not be keeping a suitcase and will be giving the money, but at the back end, there is the National Credit Guarantee Trustee Company Limited. Now, this is particularly the company of the government of India, and it will be giving the guarantee on behalf of government. This particular company also gives the guarantee for the Mudra loan. However, banks were not happy with this particular step. They said that NCGTC creates a problem in reimbursing the money for the mudra also, and the same could be done now also. So therefore, anyhow, we will be keeping a certain risk weightage to the loan which will be given to the MSME sector also. Now guys, what do we mean by the risk weight? So whenever the risk weight is to be kept, there is a probability that the loan can default and probably bank will never receive the money. So they keep certain percentage of money into the reserves so that if whenever the loan will default, from here they can fill the loss. Now just apply a logic. If such kind of reserve is also to be maintained, then the bank will be restricted in giving the loan. So there were the apprehensions from the bank. Now what has been done, the government as well as Reserve Bank of India has said that all the loans will be risk free. So we are giving a guarantee that you give the loan, don't maintain any reserve, because anyhow you will receive the money. So basically, now banks will not be mandatorily required to reserve some part as a risk reserve, and in this way banks will be more motivated to lend the money to the MSME sector. Now guys, the detailed guidelines will be coming into the meanwhile. Now friends, under this particular loan scheme, not only the MSME sector but also some small borrowers such as the non-banking financial companies can also take up the loan. Moreover, if you remember, just 2 days back, we had also seen that the finance ministry had asked the bank that they give the loan without the worry of three C's, that is CBI, CVC, and CAG. So, friends, please remember all these things with respect to your exam. And now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here's a news where an antitrust case has been filed onto the Google. Now, first of all, what do we mean by the antitrust case? So, guys, whenever a kind of a corporate or a person becomes very much dominant in a market and uses its dominant position to abuse the other competitors or limits the fair advantage, then that particular thing is called as antitrust. Now, in India, we have a Competition Commission of India, which ensures that there should be the free competition and the consumers are not taken the undue advantage of. So now what has happened? A new antitrust case has been slapped on Google. So new means that earlier also certain antitrust cases were going on. Now guys, first of all, there is antitrust case in against Google where it has been said that due to its search engine, Google creates a kind of a search bias, and whenever something is searched on Google, Google shows its own companies or its own products or ventures into the top. Secondly, it has been said that Google's platform Android has limited the smartphone manufacturers and they are inherently dependent on Google. And therefore, this is now the third antitrust case. Now, here it is being said that the Google is using its prominent position, and whenever somebody visits the app store, then there the Google shows Google Pay app option into the front and more prominently, and thereby it limits the space for other payment portals such as Paytm, etc. So in this particular way, Google is using the dominant position, therefore the antitrust claim has been levied. So guys, this particular thing is going on. Now there are two angles. Angle number one is that by doing this kind of things, the ease of doing business might get impacted. But secondly, these things are needed because it is not only into the case of India, but in US also there are very strong antitrust laws. And as these companies can abuse the dominant position, therefore such things are always needed. So therefore it is not against the ease of doing business. However, guys, on to the basis of question, you can see what perception you should follow. Now, this is all about this particular news item. I hope you're liking our discussion. Thank you so much.